Hey everyone, so we're going to take a look at Bitcoin today and have a look at current prices and where we're moving into this coming week. Currently wearing my glasses, which gives me plus 10 intelligence, which focuses and enhances my charting skills by a factor of 200%. So let's get straight into it. Now I'm going to keep it on the weekly chart, and we spoke about last week how our bias is to the downside. And I think that remains. Nothing's really changed there, and it's really just another week of weakness per se, and momentum still grinding down to the downside in my opinion. And you can see that last week was largely the same as the week before, if not a little bit weaker, where we tried to rally up to these moving averages, these key moving averages, EMAs, up here at about 42,500, got rejected, closed down below 40 again. So a pretty weak close yesterday with a little bit of a 2.5–3% sell-off. But that leaves us in, largely the same position where we're below the key fib EMAs. And we spoke about last week how, back about a year ago, 9 months ago, at similar prices, we were looking stronger with not only stronger candles, but also, holding those key fib EMAs as support. But at the moment, we are basically just downtrending and, bouncing down, down into lower prices. So the bias for me is to the downside. I wanted to draw your attention to the 50-week moving average and the 100-week moving average, which we can see here. The blue is the 100 and the 50 is the green. And we're currently basically contracting in price and squeezing between these two key moving averages. And when price tends to squeeze and go into a narrow range, it typically signifies that a larger move is coming. So whether we break to the upside or to the downside from here, I do expect the move to be quite volatile in whatever direction we move in. And we can see that not only in price and the way that we're squeezing between these two moving averages at the current moment in time, but if we go back and rewind back to the last bull cycle market top in 2017 that I was around for, you can see like some pretty striking similarities, to be honest with you, where we essentially tried to bounce and hold off this key moving average 50 in the same way that we did last summer and earlier this year. And then when we fell through it, we contracted, okay, and price was starting to form a really narrow range. Volatility was really just going out of the market and dwindling down, maybe in a similar way that we have at the minute. So maybe we can, stay within these ranges for a longer period of time. But what happened after that is we got a massive move to the downside, broke the 100, and then went straight to the 200-week moving average, which is something that I just want you to keep an eye on. Like I said, if we break the 100-week moving average with some conviction and some volatility, I am expecting a move down to this 200-week moving average eventually. I'm not sure that it will be exactly in a straight line because, like I said, nothing is as simple as that in trading, but that is definitely something that I want you to look out for. So, yeah, this narrowing in price is something to look out for me. And if we do break lower, like I said, I'll go over some of the more bullish scenarios where we can potentially move up and some of those price targets to look out for. But if we just draw this down to the daily time frame, and you can see that each of these continuation patterns that we've had prior, okay, in this downtrend, okay, you can see that they've lasted somewhat like maybe a month or so, or even less, and we've had some, fairly volatile moves to the downside. So if we take this pattern that we currently have over here, that we're stuck in, okay, and we either tend to range bound or we move out of this, even in the next week or two or in the next month, what you can see is that we have a bigger build up in price, and again, price contracting and narrowing in volatility in both directions. So if we get this big move, either to the upside or to the downside, I expect it to be quite big because consolidation precedes expansion in any direction, which basically means, right, that when we have price building and building and building and staying within a range, when we break out and sort of confirm and move up or down to the next range, that move tends to be bigger, okay? In the same way that we had, we get these distribution patterns over here where we sort of like grinded, and once we move out of this phase, whether that was to the upside or to the downside, over here at about 60k, you can see that the move is very violent. So yeah, so like I said, the longer this this consolidation goes, the bigger the next move will be, in my opinion. As we are halfway through the video, I think now would be a good time to like the video if you haven't already. Really shows your support for me and this channel, helps me keep the content flowing, and basically really helps me with relation to the YouTube algorithm. Of course, if you want more of these weekly videos and daily videos, which I'm going to be coming out with this week, please subscribe to the channel below. And without further ado, let's crack on. My personal position at the minute is I'm currently positioned slightly a little bit more into cash than into all in on crypto, because I have to go with what I see and use my own interpretation and my analysis and my experience. And that tells me that for me, any continuation of upside or for the bull market to continue, the key level for me to look out for is $46,000. So long as we stay below $46,000, the bias for me is to the downside, and any rallies or pumps that we make up, and any big 10%, 7% days, as long as they're getting sold off, it's just weakness and it's just all just noise, because that's the key level for me. Any sort of higher time frame close above $46,000. So over here, I'd be willing to put a little bit more of my cash into work and potentially take this up to the next level, which for me, after 46,000, we've spoken about this before, for me would be about 53,000. And obviously the higher we get, the more confirmation we can have that we're starting to move higher. But, you know, so long as we're below this key level, I'm not really holding much hope for crypto at the minute. And I want to draw your attention that, you know, if we look at the way current price action is actually moving, we've obviously been creating these lower highs, okay, and we're still creating lower highs, right, over the sort of macro longer term swings. So until we really take out these pivot highs, that doesn't tell me that the market has any momentum to move any higher. And you can see that whenever, if I just drop this down to the 12-hour, whenever we've rallied up here, okay, and we've basically tried to retest that, you know, we moved up to 46k, moved back up to try to retest, heavy sell-off, moved up again. You can see here, heavy sell-off straight back down. And we even tried to move back up on the news last week, which was supposed to be very good news for crypto, that we have this, you know, executive order from Biden, and you know, we're going to regulate cryptos and we're going to make it a part of our lives and it's all going to be hunky-dory. But we literally stayed there for less than 24 hours, where we made basically a 10% move from bottom to top in a day, and we just sold off. So what does that tell you? That for me is sort of bear market behavior, where when we even get good news in a downtrend and a systematic continued downtrend, it's telling you that there's weakness in the market and people are taking profits and, you know, cycling them into other assets perhaps. But, you know, this is not the sort of weakness that you want to see. You know, when you see moves like this, you really want to see that continuation and push through onto the next level. But as soon as they get sold like that so quickly, you know, then, you know, not really good news for Bitcoin. As I said before as well, nothing so much has changed with the altcoins. I really don't think this is a good time at all to be playing the altcoins. I think you're really playing with fire and you're taking unnecessary risk. Because if you want exposure to crypto, my advice to you would be not financial, that Bitcoin is the better play, because if we go down, it hedges you against that volatility to the downside. And if we move up, I still think Bitcoin is going to lead us out of this next rally, or it could be a Bitcoin only rally, whether that's, you know, the rally that takes us to new all-time highs or not. So, you know, and the Bitcoin dominance chart at the minute, you know, we were speaking that, you know, we're still expecting continuation and pushes up towards that 48% level, at which point would be my earliest time to start potentially looking at some setups for altcoins where I can say, okay, maybe we can start to look at some kind of pause for Bitcoin here. But, we've got this triple bottom, potentially trading within this range, still moving up on Bitcoin. So the play here is going to be Bitcoin for sure. And obviously if Bitcoin does drop and we see some kind of potential capitulation or big move to the downside, of course expect your altcoins to bleed as hard, if not twice as hard. That's how it works in a bear trend and a downtrend, and especially when Bitcoin is below all of its key moving averages on all the time frames, both in the medium and the long term. That's what you need to expect. So don't go, in my opinion, too hard on altcoins. Just wait and be patient and let the market show you the direction for where it wants to go next. The DXY continues to show exceptional strength. Still moving into last week, creating new highs, moving and challenging, marching towards that $100 mark. And we spoke about, how that momentum in the DXY definitely translates inversely into Bitcoin. So when we see these parabolic moves, okay, to the upside for the dollar, we know this puts pressure on Bitcoin. And we can see that we're starting to get, some potential, move into challenging some of these tops that we got over here. So maybe if we make it into these tops at about $103, $102 or so, okay, maybe that coincides as well with some kind of bottom on Bitcoin, which is going to be a process. I think it's not going to be something that's going to be instant, but definitely something that I want to be, looking out for, in the same way that we had this range at the bottom, somewhere at around $88, which also, typically, marked the top of the markets. So, potentially, like I said, maybe we just have that extra push and a little bit of extra momentum on the DXY to indicate to us that crypto maybe wants to move lower. And unless that changes and that shift in momentum changes, then that's going to be the bias for the moment. Gold continues to look strong, continues to make weekly highs. And I do think that this year might be potentially a year where not only do we see gold and other metals and other commodities perform pretty well, but like I said, this sort of rotation of capital tells me that there's not room in this jungle essentially for everything and everyone, and we can't have necessarily assets going up, everything going completely only up, right? Like we said, markets are typically cyclical, so I think so long as the DXY stays strong and some of the other commodities look like they want to push higher or stay at lofty highs, and you've got stuff like gold as well, marching higher, I think this does put, again, more pressure on crypto and Bitcoin, in my opinion. And just diving it quickly down to the S&P, looks, there's no signs, I would say, of a reversal here, and the real support, if the S&P and the Nasdaq is to fall any further, I think we could definitely see moves, maybe bottoming out in maybe at about that $3,600 level. Seems like a level where that buyers would probably step in, and if we do actually make it there, that would be a 24% move to the downside, which isn't quite as big as crypto, but definitely a massive move, and one of the bigger corrections that I think you can take advantage of. But I think similar to other markets and crypto, it's not going to be a straight move down. There's going to be volatility. There's going to be dead cat bounces. There's going to be, I don't know how exactly this plays out, but nothing works out in a straight line. It's all, if it was that easy, then remember, everyone would be making money and everyone would just be short, but it doesn't work like that, right? So just be aware as well that there is some news on rate hikes in a couple of weeks, in 2 days, on Wednesday within 48 hours. So I expect that to bring volatility to the market. Now, what's the direction that goes in, I'm not exactly sure, but what you can see is on traditional markets and Bitcoin that, if we do get that break on that Wednesday in any direction, just do wait for any confirmation, because You know, there can be a lot of fake out and fake volatility to make you think that it's going one direction, completely swings it back the other way. In the same way that we had news over here, like we spoke about, you know, last week, where we rallied up to 42.5, sold off back within a day. And then again here, we moved up to about 40,200 and then sold straight back off within the next 4-hour candles. So just be aware that in the next, you know, Wednesday or whatnot, if there's news or lead up to this news, you know, per se, this is why I don't like to trade the news. Just trade what's in front of you. The markets are telling you that, you know, we're in a systematic downtrend below moving averages, so the bias is to the downside. So if we can possibly get some sort of spike up to 40, 41, I don't know, somewhere, take out this high and then move straight back down, definitely a possibility. Like I said, just keep a main eye on the $46,000 level. At this level would be the level for me that we go, right, we can now start challenging the next range high. Okay, so long as we're below here, we're moving lower, in my opinion. So I hope you got some value from that video. If you did, please go ahead and drop me a like down below. You know, that helps me out massively. I'm going to try to come out with a few more videos for you this week, so if you can bump the likes up, that really helps and shows me that you want me to do more. Makes me feel better about myself when I'm doing these videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.